To determine the time you need for training with an e-collar, you need to know the factors that will help you to understand the successfulness of training sessions with your dog. The dog must be trained enough so that you can confidently take away the e-collar without fear that the dog might rebel against you. Plan with an end in mind. For owners that have read the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you would know that habit number 2 will be begin with the end in mind. It tells us that we should always have a goal that we would want to reach towards and craft out a systematic plan that allows us to reach the goal. By using this principle, you should plan and craft out a regular training schedule with your dog. There can be many factors that you need to consider when crafting out the training schedule with your dog too, and one of them is to understand your dog's temperament. For example, with stubborn dogs, you should not be giving longer training sessions. If not, they might start to develop an aversion towards the e-collar itself. So, always plan. 0 distractions. It is important to remove all distractions when you are training your dog to hasten the pace of training with an e-collar, at least for the start of the training program. This allows the dog to be focused on you than to be distracted by random kinds of stuff. We suggest you have a controlled environment that is devoid from sudden intrusions into the training ground. You should only start to introduce distractions once you are confident enough that the dog has mastered and understood the commands that you have given when you use the e-collar with them. Prepare adequately. A good plan cannot be executed well if the items needed for the training session is not adequately prepared before the training session. Some of the things required during an e-collar training session are e-collar, sufficient water, treats, leash, toys. These are just some of the items that I would bring along for each training session. It can vary from dog to dog too. For example, if you are training a gun dog, you might want to bring along dummies that is crucial for the dog to be prepared to perform its role. Understand your dog's body cues. One factor why some training sessions with the e-collar can be prolonged is because owners fail to understand their dog's signals to them. If you misinterpret the dog's body language, it can lead to a different result. For example, when your dog is not responding to the cues from the e-collar itself and is merely walking away even when you give them a command, it can mean that the stimulation level is inadequate, or if the dog is distracted by something else, or it can say that the dog is bored. So, if you have failed to understand the body cues, you will arrive at your conclusion and administer the wrong correction. This is disastrous and will prolong the duration needed to train your dog with the e-collar. As such, you will need to closely monitor and observe your dog's reaction to your training, and you can make rectification or remedy from then on. Insufficient consequences. When we teach our children about discipline as well as other behavioral aspects, one of the essential concepts that they need to know is that there are consequences for every action that we take. This goes the same for the dog when it comes to training them with the e-collar. When the dog is undergoing a training session without any consequences, they will have the free to rebel against your commands, since there is no punishment following. This will lengthen the training sessions and defeat the purpose of using the e-collar. Indeed, meeting consequences is an important step that you will need to take when it comes to having a shorter and successful time training with your dog. Only positive reinforcements. The mistake that almost all dog owners make is that they resort to negative reinforcement methods, although they completely ignore them when training the dog. Some forms of harmful reinforcement techniques include praising a dog when it makes a mistake, or carrying a dog when they begin to show negative behavior, such as barking. All this is just for the dog to repeat the mistake, to hug or even to enjoy you, which will only mean a longer workout with your dog, even with an electronic collar. Open mind. Start each training session, always with an open positive mind. This will allow you to keep each session optimal. A bad training session includes the owner shouting and screaming in frustrations when the dog refuses to comply with the commands given with the e-collar. How much time is needed for the dog to be well trained then? As you can see, many factors determine an excellent training session with your dog. A properly planned training program can shorten the time needed to train your dog, and a poorly designed program will serve to lengthen the session. Follow our steps carefully, and you can prepare your dogs in just a few months.